Cork's Red FM.
You know, I'll be honest with you, I'm probably sick of it at this stage. You know, people saying much improved and gutsy performance. You know, but that's not what we're about. I mean, like, Ireland didn't go there yesterday to entertain. I mean, if you want to go for entertainment, you go to a circus. Like, Ireland went there to win, and I think if you watch Declan Kidney's mannerisms after the game, he was extremely peed off, and that they didn't do better. And you know, to lose by 20 points, like, if that happened in New Zealand, heads would roll. But over here, we seem to have an attitude that, look, we played better. It was the All Blacks. It's only 20 points. We'll drive on next week and see what happens. It's not good enough. It really isn't good enough, and I think we have to address it very, very quickly. You know, all the talk last week of that Ireland are up for this one. This is the one we're eventually going to get him. I thought it was all wrong. The talk coming out of the camp. I mean, there was no reason for us to believe that we could beat the All Black side. Yes, if we'd won 6 or 7 games in a trot up to the All Black game, we would have had a bit of reason to have confidence, but we hadn't. I mean, we'd lost 6 out of 7 of our previous games, and yet all the talk was coming that we could beat this All Black side, who had won 18 out of 19 of their encounters. So I think people need to realise where we are in terms of the players we have available to us. I mean, New Zealand could have probably put 3 teams out there that would have had a similar scoreline at the final whistle to us. And you know, that's reality, and that's the way Irish rugby is. It's a numbers game, and we just do not have the numbers.
Yeah, what was your assessment of the actual performance from Ireland last night, Dave? I think we created opportunities, but we do seem to have a big problem finishing them.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Against a team like the All Blacks, every opportunity, every sniff of the try line they give you have to take it. Every 3 points, you have to take them. But again, you nailed it on the head. We didn't take our chances, and again, we just don't have the players available to us to do that. Yes, like, our game plan changed drastically over the last couple of weeks, and we decided to play a bit with width, and we looked very dangerous with the ball in hand when we did go wide, but we didn't have the finishers, and we couldn't get in behind them. Yes, we scored 2 tries. Brian O'Driscoll's try was meaningless, really, to be honest, because the game was over at that stage. And Stephen Ferris's try in the first half was worked fantastically, but at the end, you know, it was a forward pass, and I know people say, look, it's only a forward pass if the referee sees it, but still, at the end of the day, it was a forward pass, and it probably shouldn't have been allowed.
Kind of worrying, I suppose, Dave, really, that we are, I suppose, going back to the same point we were making earlier, we're kind of coming out of another defeat against the All Blacks, pointing to the positives, yet yeah. we're less than a year from the World Cup, and yeah. we're looking at positives when we've been beaten by 20 points.
Yeah, again, as I say, you know, if it happened in New Zealand or Australia or South Africa, like, heads would roll. It's as simple as that. Players would be dropped. There might be a changing of the guard in the coaching structure. But over here, look, we just seem to accept it. Look, Paul, I've 27 caps for Ireland. I only won a handful of those games, but at the end of it, it was always the same old story. Look, we played well. We nearly beat them. We were much improved from last week. It's not good enough. You know, if we want to go and compete, or at least get to the semi-final in a World Cup situation, we have to be turning over the likes of South Africa and New Zealand when they come up to our home garden, up to our back pitch. Gone are the days. Like, we're in professional rugby almost 15 years now at this stage, and the playing field seems to be exactly the same as it was 20 years ago. There is no change. We're still losing by the same amount of points, if not more. And just people need to realise that where we are, we punch miles above our weight in terms of sporting achievements in this country with the population we have. But, you know, people need to be realistic as well, and I just thought all the talk coming out of the camp early on in the week was sending out the wrong signals completely.
What needs to happen for that outlook to change, do you think, David? Is it a management issue, or is it just something that kind of pervades the game overall in this country?
Yeah, it's nothing to look at. The management team that are there under Declan Kidney is by far the best management team we've ever had, and I don't think we'll ever come close to equaling this again. And look, it took us 72 years to win another Grand Slam, but I just think it's just the way it is in Ireland. Look, we've 4 professional teams in this country. Over 25% of the players on those professional teams are from overseas, which basically they're no good to Irish rugby. So we've got 3 teams to pick from. And really, when you look at that, you know, including injuries and stuff like that, we just do not have the numbers. And if you were to win a World Cup, you'll have to beat 3 of the top 4 in successive weeks. And so you can just imagine if Ireland had to go and play New Zealand again next week, followed by South Africa, followed by, let's say, Australia in the final, it just wouldn't happen. And we just don't have the resources. We don't have the playing numbers in this country. And it's unfortunate, and in fairness to the RFU, they're doing a fantastic job with the resources they have. But just look, it's a playing numbers. If we didn't have GAA or soccer or hurling in this country, yes, we would be there or thereabouts. But There are national sports. That's the way it is, and that's just a fact of life in this country.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear your views on Declan Kidney's team selection, Dave. Obviously, there's still quite a few guys to come back in, especially up front. You've got Tony Buckley, Jerry Flannery, Paul O'Connell. But I suppose the big talking point going into the game last night was Kidney decided to go with Owen Redden and Johnny Sexton at half-back. I suppose it certainly looks like he is trying to give Sexton as many games as possible to make sure that he's ready for the World Cup next year, and that O'Gara is going to have to play second fiddle.
Yeah, look, if it was a knockout situation, let's say if it was a final of something, I think O'Gara and Stringer would have started. But look, we're bidding for a World Cup. We're trying to get a squad, and the likes of Redden and Sexton, experience at this level, the intensity that was played yesterday, you can't buy it, and the only way you can get it is actually by being out there. So I thought it was a correct decision that he picked both of them. And in terms of next week's game, I think he should pick him again. We know what Peter Stringer and Ronan O'Gara can do. I would have loved to see Devin Toner on the field. I'd have loved to see Sean O'Brien on the field. I thought it was fantastic when Sean Cronin came on. I thought he had a great game, albeit at the misfortune of Rory Best, who picked up an injury. But I honestly believe that we're going to have to lose a good few games in terms to get us back up to where we want to be in world standing. And the only way forward is youth. Devin Toner, 6'10", is the future of Irish rugby. Like he's been proclaimed as the next Malcolm O'Kelly, and the only way he's going to get there is by actually playing games. So he's got to play next week. I would put Mike Rossin and David Cork into the side as well. He deserves a chance. He's playing well for Leinster, and he's a natural tight head. We just have to promote the youth, and we just have to, for us to get to where we want to be, we are going to have to take a lot of pain. The World Cup is only a couple of months away. For us to get to where we want to be, youth is the way forward. And, playing the likes of Nick O'Driscoll, fine, fantastic player, playing extremely well for Munster, but again, not the future of Irish rugby.
Yeah, no, as you mentioned there, Dave, as this season goes on, we're going to have more and more talk building up to the World Cup. And again, it looks like it's going to be a World Cup that New Zealand will go into as hot favourites.
Yeah.
Are they as good as we're building up to be at the moment? Because they look pretty good at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they are. I mean, their record speaks for themselves. I mean, they're averaging 40 points per game. So, I mean, when you can do that, and if you look at the replacement bench that they had, I mean, any one of those replacements would have walked onto the Irish team, and I think that's a good way to judge it. The World Cup, in terms of the All Blacks being favourites, it's in New Zealand. They faltered over the last few occasions. Like, they've only won the World Cup once. They've been favourites every time the World Cup has taken place, and the only problem is that they seem to peak it a little bit early, and the likes of France can catch them, England can catch them, and like any team can be beaten on their day. Just at the moment, they're unbeatable. I don't think anybody will touch them. They're playing Wales next week, who are playing appalling rugby at the moment, and I think they're going to hammer them as well. So they're going to go into the World Cup with a huge amount of confidence, and also a squad. And Graham Henry, who won his 100th international yesterday, in coaching the side, is under huge pressure, and he's been given up until the World Cup to win it. And if he doesn't, he's gone. There's no way. Like the New Zealand public won't accept it, and the New Zealand Rugby Union wouldn't accept it either. So yes, they are favourites going into it. Australia will come close as well, and I honestly don't believe you can rule out South Africa either.
Okay, just very finally, Dave, Ireland round off their November campaign next Sunday. They take on Argentina at the Aviva Stadium. It's never been the prettiest when Ireland take on Argentina. They're normally quite scrappy games that are won up front. How do you see it going?
I think Ireland will win it. As I say, look, I'd love to see an experimental side out there. I think youth is the way forward, as I said earlier on. Argentina, I think they went down 15 points to 9 to France the weekend, which isn't a bad result over in France. So it's going to test Ireland's mettle again. It's going to be a war of attrition, as you said, up front. They're a very, very physical side. And, if you look at the 4 games that Ireland played over the autumn internationals, they're probably 4 of the most physicalist teams that you could come up against. So they are going to be sore and stiff at the end of it. And then you're going into a Heineken Cup period for the majority of the players as well. So, next week again is going to be a very, very tough game, and they could possibly lose 3 out of 4 of these internationals, which wouldn't sit us in a good situation for the forthcoming Six Nations and World Cup.
Okay, Dave Corkery, former Irish international, great stuff. Thanks as always for talking to us here on the Big Red Bench.
Okay, Paul, thank you.